And here we go, ladies and boys and girls, children of all ages. This is the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. I am Rob Brown, back in studio, ready to rock and roll once again directly on the other side of the glass for me, both literally and metaphorically. We come together in person for the first time in the new time slot of 9 to noon. He is the great one, Colonel Grudge, hashtag Dad Kicks, the content cash cow, the alpha and the omega of ESPN Upstate. He is Lonzo, pushing the button, switching the switches today. What up, Zoe?
As a
Upstate has spoken. You know, here's the thing. Over. It's not the ins and outs that have gotten me, right? The Fan Upstate in and out every time. It's when I'm referencing all of the other things that I've always, because if you haven't noticed about me, I talk really quickly when I'm excited. And it's all the things that I say really quickly that I've blown it on. Ladies and gentlemen, the alpha and the omega of the Fan Upstate, the great one, Lonzo.
so
When I got the gig here at the Fan Upstate, when I got the gig and the first conversation I had with the big boss, he called me. He said, we'd like to offer you the job. I said, I'd very much like to accept it. I'll see you in 4 days? I'll be up there. Let's go. I'm ready. And he said, you got to think of a name for the show, right? We need a name for the show. Now, at this point of my career, I had never had a show outside of a podcast. I had never been on the air hosting a show that was named The Rob Brown Show or anything like that.
yeah.
I do the show, but it's not my show. And my philosophy is still, I do the show, but it's not my show. It is the people's show. I am the people's host, right? Dropping people's elbows on radio chumps around the country. I am the people's host. This is the people's show. Therefore, I never named it after myself because I felt that created this feeling of people listening that this dude thinks he's better than us, right? Like this dude thinks that the show's about him instead of about us. And that's not what I wanted. I always wanted everybody to feel like this show was their show. About you, don't you? So I never. But when he offered me, I had already paid for images and designs to be created for the Rob Brown Show, and I didn't want those to go to waste because I had just gotten them like 2 months before I got the gig here because I was gonna start a sports podcast because the rule is if you are an American and in your 30s, you must host a podcast. That's the rules. I don't make them. I just play by them. So I created all this stuff and I decided, well, let's keep that. But he's like, well, we don't love the generic The Blank Show, right? We want you to have a show title and then with Rob Brown, Offsides with Mark Ryan, The Jungle with Jim Rome. We want you to have blank, blank. And the only thing that came to my brain was I was going to call it the Rob Brown Experience, right? I initially wanted to go with the Rob Brown Experience, but then I realized that the Rob Brown Experience is work too much during the day, sit on the couch, drink bourbon, and watch basketball at night, and that's not really an experience that appeals to everybody. So I don't know how that show name works. And also, I had just paid like $70 whole, which in radio dollars is like $1,000 to have some cool graphics made for my show. So here it is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, because my name is Rob, and I guess it's like a transformational process. Once you spend some time with me, your life's better for it. You've been robbed. So. But it is what it is, man. You're getting robbed here on the Rob Brown Show. That sounds way worse when you say it out of context.
I know.
Listen to my show and you'll get robbed. What? No. It's not that kind of radio, kids.
You'll get robbed.
Ladies and gentlemen, the marketing and public relations director of the show, the great one, Lonzo. Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you pull clip number 2 for me? Last night, I sat down and watched a little Women's Elite Eight basketball as Michigan and Louisville got after it. And it was a phenomenal basketball game. I had a blast. Great basketball game. Louisville back to the Final Four on the women's side, and they are the contenders up against the 1 overall seed South Carolina Gamecocks. Dawn Staley's crew will take on the Cardinal of Louisville in the Final Four. And I got to tell you, I'm obviously all in on Dawn Staley's crew. It is good for me if they win. I am happy for the people of South Carolina if they win. It's good for us content-wise if they win. And on top of that, Dawn Staley is probably my favorite coach in all of sports going right now. I think Dawn Staley has set the mix of being the perfect players coach, but being the perfect basketball coach too. I think she is probably setting the mix better than anybody else in college basketball. And I think she deserves more recognition for it. However, there's a young lady by the name of Haley Van Lith playing for Louisville. Haley had a relationship with Kobe Bryant before Kobe passed away tragically a couple of years ago. Haley, coming out of high school, was friends with Kobe's daughter Gigi, who also passed away in that helicopter accident. And Kobe, who was a huge believer in women's basketball, was always fostering relationships to try to get young women to fall in love with the game. And I think Kobe's impact can still be felt. Well, Haley Van Lith last night, after the game was over, got asked on the big 4-letter, hey, you had a relationship with Kobe. What do you think Kobe would say to you right now? And on national television, Haley Van Lith said this.
You had a great relationship with the late, great, iconic Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gigi. What do you think he would say to you in this moment?
He would say, go and win this, Haley. That's what he would say. We not done. That's what he would say right there.
Team Haley. That's it. That's the quote. Team Haley. Listen, I love Dawn Staley. I am rooting for the Gamecocks of South Carolina in the Final Four over Louisville. But I got a new favorite women's basketball player right now. I love Aaliyah Boston. I love the story. I love where she came from. I love where she's going as a player. But Haley Van Lith just let her rip on national TV last night. Love that kid. The best part wasn't the quote. The best part wasn't the quote about Kobe, but the best part was after the game was over, after Louisville had dumped Michigan and taken the dub and made its way up the bracket into the Final Four, they showed this young woman walking around on the sideline in the high five line, working her way over to the teammates to grab her Final Four merch. And you want to talk about an athlete who had very clearly left it all on the floor that night, right? One of the things that's always driven me crazy about the narrative in women's college basketball, as this Final Four is going to be good, y'all. Like, good. One of the things that's always driven me crazy is the narrative that the women's game just isn't as intense as the men's, right? I think anybody would be lying to say that the women's game is as athletic as the men's. It's not. But the game itself is as intense as the men's, without a doubt. They showed this young lady on the sideline, and she looked like she was damn near ready to pass out from the effort that she had left on the floor, and there was something to be said for that. If you happen to DVR that game and did not watch it, go back and watch the last 5. Go back and look at the last 5 minutes of that match. Just the last 5 minutes. And watch Michigan's hustle. But more importantly, watch Louisville on defense. Watch Haley Van Lith on defense. Watch Louisville swarm the ball. Watch Louisville push the ball up. I was having this was at 11:20 last night. This game was in the final 5 minutes. It's 11:20 at night, and I'm sitting on my couch enjoying every second of it. I am all in on the Final Four. And again, pulling for the Gamecocks. Want the Gamecocks to win. Looks good on us if the Gamecocks win. Looks good on the Upstate sports community if another national championship makes its way to our market. But if it's not them, I hope it's Haley Van Lith, because that young woman put everything that it means to be a dedicated athlete onto the floor last night. Phenomenal job by Haley. Phenomenal job by the Louisville Cardinal. And the Cardinal are now the round 1 matchup against the Gamecocks of South Carolina, and I'm all in for that match. If you think there's anything else that I'm doing before watching that game that night, I got nothing for you. It was unreal. And considering South Carolina is a hustle team, a grind team, so is Louisville. I expect these two teams are going to put on an all-timer when they get together in the Final Four. We'll circle back around to that later on in the show as well. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. Coming up on the show today, I got a couple of things for you. We've got a Final Four preview on both the men's and women's side. Of course, the men's is on Saturday, so we'll start breaking those down. It's a little bit early. We got a few days, but never too early to talk Final Four basketball. We'll break down the Final Four on the men's and women's side as it stands. Speaking of college basketball, you remember 2 days ago when I told you that underdogs in college basketball, we all said we love underdogs. But I said the ratings don't hold that theory up, right? Statistically speaking, the underdogs don't move the needle the way the blue bloods do. And that's part of the reason why we are always going to see blue blood Final Fours. Well, the St. Peter's Peacocks blew that theory up. The St. Peter's Peacocks blew that story up. The needle moved for the little school that could out of New Jersey. And we're going to talk about that coming up. The 2022 edition of Hard Knocks is scheduled. And we are going to get to see, yes, ladies and gentlemen, the monument to NFL excellence that is the Detroit Lions. Cannot wait. The Detroit Lions are your 2022 Hard Knocks team. And I've got to tell you, ordinarily, Lonzo, Hard Knocks is something that I kind of like peruse in my spare time, right? Ordinarily, it's a bottom tier team, Occasionally, they'll do some stuff with a team that was okay the year before. We got the Patriots Hard Knocks a few years back. But ordinarily, Hard Knocks is kind of like it's 12:30 in the morning. I'm trying to fall asleep. What can I put on? That's a distraction, but like I can ultimately close my eyes, pretend to listen to it, and fall asleep. I got to tell you, like I'm all in on the Detroit Lions Hard Knocks.
See, I love.
Call it Hard Knocks, right? Like it's not really Hard Knocks if it's a team coming out. Like Tom Brady's not really having any hard knocks right now. Tom Brady's fine. Last year, remember, they did an in-season Hard Knocks on the Indianapolis Colts. And I got to tell you, Lonzo, I watched 0 episodes of it. I watched 0 episodes of Hard Knocks Indianapolis Colts, and that was in season, which to me is probably, to be real, not as entertaining as off season, right? Off season comes with the drama of guys not making the team, guys trying to make the roster at all, new coaches in some of these Hard Knocks. You got a brand new coaching staff in Detroit, right? I am interested to see what Hard Knocks for Detroit looks like. Because to me, I've said for years, the culture of an NFL team is every bit as important as the talent on it. The culture of an NFL team is the culture in New Orleans changed. It brought a Super Bowl.
But dude,
About your favorite celebrity who it turns out sucked as a person, right? Like we all had that moment the first time that movie star or musician or whatever that we loved as a kid, you found out that they sucked as a person, right? And then all of a sudden, all of a sudden you find out that person sucks as a guy or sucks as a gal. And now you have to you've got to make the decision. All right, do I still support the artist aside from the person to support the art, not the artist? Or do I have to throw all of it away?
which is
NFL team. Just going through a coaching change, but a culture change. That's big time. I want to talk more about this. Let's take a break. I want to talk more about this when we come back. And I'm not just talking about the Detroit Lions. I'm talking about your NFL team as a whole. Like, do you want to know what's going on behind the scenes? We'll address that further coming up. And coming up in about, we'll call it 25 minutes, your boy's got a big announcement to make. No, I'm not going anywhere. Relax. And no, Keegan, I did not join the Beatles.
but
But you got me. You know what Keegan's talking about? Go to our stream at facebook.com/thefanupstate, twitter.com/thefanupstate, or search The Rob Brown Show on YouTube. Go to our YouTube channel, subscribe to that, and you can follow us when we go live every day. Quick break. We're back after this on The Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate.
All right, so I'm being told I can't be heard.
On the stream.
Yeah, on stream.
Yeah, it's the same thing that's been happening.
Well, I can
listen to go back and listen to the StreamYard.
When you say quiet,
no, like you'll be talking and then you come back in.
Well, I looked at the settings. The mic volume is very low on the thing, so I don't know. I just texted Chris. That's who I was texting to tell him about it. Let's see. Should I click automatically adjust mic volume?
You
think?
I mean, I would enable it. See, is it not enabled?
It's not enabled.
I would enable it. See if that helps.
$10,000? Yeah, and from over here, it looks like water's been pouring over your clogged gutters.
And if it messes it up, then I know to unclick it.
You need to do what I did. Get off the ladder and call Leaf Filter. Yeah, but I need to get these gutters flowing now. That's why you need to call Leaf Filter. They'll clean and realign your gutters.
I guess I'll wait till the next break.
Micro mesh screen system, so nothing gets in your gutters except water. So Leaf Filter protects my house from damage and means no more gutter cleaning for me. Bingo! Plus, Leaf Filter has an industry-leading lifetime warranty, so your gutters are covered for life. Thanks, Frank.
It's causing your mic to cut out too when he speaks. Not even when he's loud, just talking in general.
Well,
welcomes you with a special offer on college basketball. Simply place a $10 moneyline wager on any game. If either team hits a three-pointer in the game, you'll win $200 in free bets. Just use
When he's talking to you like he is now, it's fine. When he gets up to the mic, it cuts out.
What's
It's tournament time, and the action is heating up. Make sure your picks aren't ice cold. The BetQL app is here to help you make smarter bets so you can cash in more consistently. From best bet recommendations to advanced analytics, BetQL.
So
Single game on the board. Get started today. Download the free BetQL app or visit BetQL.com.
This feature is sponsored by Indeed. When you're trying to hire and fill open jobs, you need Indeed. They're a powerful hiring platform that makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire.
I still think it has something to do with the mic processors. I was talking to someone about that yesterday. The mic But that's what it is. I don't know. Let's fix.
As Rome says, more of me and less of you is a good thing. Arugula. We've seen Caliendo's impression of Rome. It's amazing.
It's a little stuffy in here. Guess the engine needed to warm up.
The Detroit Lions will be the stars, question mark, of the 2022 edition of HBO's Hard Knocks this offseason. Hard Knocks is interesting to me because Hard Knocks is a show that when it started, I genuinely thought that Hard Knocks was going to be transformative TV. And I think for a while, Hard Knocks was one of the most interesting television shows to ever come out.
I believe.
Something like that.
I'll have
I
to
think I was
check
in
that out.
high school when it started.
Yeah, I thought.
Hard Knocks. Yeah, 2001, according to Wikipedia. Hard Knocks started with the Baltimore Ravens in 2001, and so far, it has featured the Ravens, Cowboys, Chiefs, the Cowboys again, the Bengals, the Jets. In 2011, they did not focus on a team. They did like a special of the last decade in training camps. 2012, they did the Dolphins, then the Bengals, Falcons, Texans, Rams, Buccaneers in 2017, the Browns, Raiders in 2019. They did both LA teams in 2020 because, of course, Roger Goodell needed to squarely plant his lips upon the
Or the
Cowboys for a third time in 2021. They did the Colts in season in 2021, and coming up in 2022, they'll do the Lions. Now, I thought Hard Knocks was really transformative TV when it started, right? Because we all read our training camp stories. Training camp stories are sustenance for guys like me and Lonzo, right? Because starting in 2 weeks here on the Fan Upstate, we have baseball. That's it. That's it. Mid-April, for May, June, July, August, basically, all we have is baseball and NASCAR. And again, I love me some NASCAR, but I know NASCAR is like a one segment a day type sport.
No, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. But I also recognize that, again, the NBA is a couple of segments a day, with the exception of the playoffs, right? Maybe we get a really good couple of postseason races down the stretch in the NBA. But as far as moving the needle, it's pretty much baseball for a while. So Hard Knocks kind of opened up this world of what was always sustenance for guys like me, guys like Zoe in the game. But if you're a big NFL fan, where every practice rep is scrutinized and analyzed to find out what it means for your season upcoming, off-season football is big. And I thought Hard Knocks was kind of transformative, but there were a lot of seasons where the content just wasn't all that compelling, right? There were a lot of seasons that weren't just that interesting. Where you look at it and you go, I don't care what this team's off-season camp is like because they're going to stink next year's too. They're going to stink next year too. So what's the point of getting invested, right? I think the thing about Hard Knocks is it's kind of hard to invest. It's already hard enough to invest when the team on Hard Knocks ain't your team, right? Like I don't need to invest in the 2017 Dallas Cowboys. Not only are they not my team, but I'm actively rooting against them. Detroit this year, I think kind of provides, at least for me, something that not a lot of other seasons of Hard Knocks have provided. Hard Knocks provides this year going to Detroit a look at a team that is, I think, fundamentally trying to change everything about itself, right? The reason that the Lions sent Matt Stafford on his way was because I think the Lions are trying to blow up everything connected to what the Detroit Lions used to be. I think the Lions are trying to blow it up for Dan Campbell, to let Dan Campbell show up and have a genuinely clean sweep to work. I don't know if it's going to work. The Lions went, what? 3-13 last year? 3-14, whatever it was? I don't even remember. 3-13-1? Yeah, 3-13-1 last year. Not a good team. But they've tried to blow everybody out of the old franchise and start something completely new. And I'm really interested in this. I'm really interested in this. Because I've told you guys, I think the culture of an NFL team matters every bit as much as the talent in it. The culture that a team brings to the field matters every bit as much as the guys that are playing within it, right? And I think the old culture of the Detroit Lions was, to be as kind as I can, trash. It is not a coincidence that Matt Stafford left a team that was bad, showed up for a team that was good, and won a Super Bowl immediately, right? And I know there's still folks out there that are going, Stafford didn't win a Super Bowl. He's a game manager. Yeah, all right. Cool. But he did, though.
Yeah, those people.
I was watching when it happened right in front of my very own beautiful eyes.
They will surround.
There's a reason that happened for Matt Stafford, and it's because he got out of a toxic culture and went to one that was built around winning. Joe Burrow showed up, and Cincinnati immediately changed their culture around Joey B. What happened to them last year? About 3 possessions away from going to the Super Bowl. Or, excuse me, winning the Super Bowl, right? The culture in your locker room matters. That to me, is part of the frustration, for instance. Part of the frustration with the Carolina Panthers is, I've asked Rashad, and we'll have Rashad back on Thursday. Can you define the culture inside the Carolina Panther locker room right now? And the answer is no. No, right? I look around the best teams in the league. If I asked you, Lonzo, to define the culture of the New England Patriots, do you think you could do it? Under a hoodie?
Yeah.
Done. I would say we can define the locker room of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now, right? It's Florida, man. It's avocado, tequila, and Gronk spikes, but it works for them. I'd say we can define the culture for the LA Rams right now. It is be very intelligent about the game. Be very knowledgeable about the game. Be an expert at every play that you're going to run on both sides of the football, and it works for them. I've thrown my own team in there. I'm interested to see how my team's culture changes with a new head coach. But under Sean Payton, it was, club locker room is popping. The Saints win a game, and video went off in the locker room on IG Live of players throwing dance parties in the locker room. And it was silly, and it worked. The team made the playoffs more than it didn't with club locker room as their culture. The teams that are the best in the league have their own culture. Not all of them are the same, but it works for them, and the players buy into it. The Detroit Lions don't have one, and Dan Campbell's trying to build one right now. And if Dan Campbell is going to successfully build a locker room, a culture that is going to take Lions to the next level, he's going to have to do it in front of HBO's cameras right now.
See, here's the bad thing.
I mean, Jared Goff, not apparently. But then again,
You can.
It's absolutely a culture thing. It is. And Dan Campbell having to build that in Detroit. Hopefully, with the front office getting the hell out of the way and letting them do it, makes Hard Knocks, to me, a must-watch. Hard Knocks has not been must-watch for me probably since, I don't know, 2015, 16, mid last decade. Because it got to the point that it was just repetitive, right? Here's training camp. Here's the sad story of guy who is living in his van, living his dream, getting cut from the roster. Here's some practice footage. But the Lions, I think, under their new head coach, Dan Campbell, are going to try to blow it up. Let me put it this way. If they don't try to blow it up, if they try to just do the same thing under Campbell that they did under Matt Patricia, Lions fans, y'all need to walk. Y'all need to stop giving that franchise money, right? Because they're happy to suck that money up out your wallet, but they ain't doing nothing to make it worth the while. And that's why this is compelling TV to me. Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, I've got an announcement to make. And I'm pretty excited about it. I think some of you guys will be too. It's going to make me be on the radio more. I don't even think Lonzo knows what it is yet, actually. Oh, this is exciting. To break some news to Lonzo when we come back. It's good. Don't worry. Me and Lonzo still work together. My name is Rob Brown. The great one's at the helm. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate.
Chris is listening on YouTube, and he's saying that it's cutting it in and out and stuff. And here's the thing. You're over there yelling, and it's not cutting out. So it has to be a setting. I'm going to go to the bathroom.
I have to think.
Looking for another championship as he heads into retirement. Where does this year's team rank?
I could, and then get those teams mad at me. So I don't rape my daughters or my grandchildren.
The Fan Upstate is your home for coverage of the men's and women's NCAA basketball tournaments. Download the Odyssey app and search the Fan Upstate. Then listen anywhere on your phone. I'm Chuck Sanders, and that's your sports flash on the Fan Upstate. The sports flash of you, the Upstate fan. NCAA Final Four Spotlight, sponsored by Geico.
Step right, three-pointer, no good off the iron. Rebound out to Moore. Spin move, his three-pointer, no good. And Colin Gillespie's got the rebound. Gillespie is going to dribble the clock away. The ball game is over. Villanova has survived and advanced.
The Wildcats punched their ticket with a tough defensive game win over Houston. Now it's on to the Big Easy for a matchup with Kansas. Hear Westwood One's exclusive coverage of the Final Four right here.
Were you exposed to hazardous materials while serving in the military and have an illness or condition as a result?
If so, you may be eligible for VA benefits.
So I've been looking up reasons, and I saw I can turn the volume down, but
It wouldn't matter, right? The only thing I can think is, do we come up with a way to run our mic on two different channels?
but the thing is, so
I have no idea.
no,
when I talk and you talk, it cuts you out. Because like the other day when we were interviewing Paul, your audio is going out. If you like, your audio will be fine. If Paul made a noise into his mic, your audio cut, and it cut the question for like 2 or 3 seconds after Paul would be done making a noise. Also, he is Paul because we're on a first name basis now.
Absolutely.
They know. That video I put up is at like 2,000 views.
You know what?
And we were on all the dirt sheets, which is awesome.
What?
1,000 views.
That's a good. There's been.
She needs to put the pedal to the metal and find more florists. We're letting go on D.
We do.
You do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
My heart was racing just making spaghetti. I could have waited to tell my doctor, but I didn't wait.
I was short of breath just reading a book. I could have delayed telling my doctor, but I didn't wait.
They told their doctors and found out they have atrial fibrillation, a condition which makes it about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. If you have one or more of these symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness, this is no time to wait. Contact your doctor.
Brought to you by Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Starting stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
Get in the game on the Rob Brown Show.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. I am Rob Brown. Lonzo is on the other side of the glass. Kind of a big announcement for me professionally, but also for us here at the Fan Upstate. Let's start. About a week and a half ago, I got a phone call from our friends at BetQL. And BetQL, for those of you who don't know, is a nationwide sports gambling app/website that compiles talent from around the country to pull together the most comprehensive sports gambling information that you can find. And BetQL is owned by Odyssey, our parent company, right? So Odyssey has BetQL in pocket, and the BetQL folks gave me a buzz. They were looking for somebody to provide some summertime content for them in order to put more programming on the air. BetQL has a number of stations nationwide that focus specifically on BetQL content. Like, they just run BetQL shows. They also have a number of shows that run on other stations, including right here on the Fan Upstate, where BetMGM goes live from 7 to 10 every weeknight. And, of course, as we continue to progress with the evolution of the Fan Upstate, you'll hear some more BetQL stuff coming up on the weekends, etc. Well, I got a call that said, hey, Rob Brown, your boss said that you might be a good fit to provide some content for BetQL. Are you interested? And I said, yeah, man, I'm always interested. There's very rare a point in Rob Brown's life that someone offers a microphone and Rob says no, right? At the end of the day, publicity is good for me and my career, my brand, and the Fan Upstate. which is why you'll see me on mics at local sporting events and whatnot. Anyway, they said, Rob Brown, would you be interested in potentially providing some content for BetQL? To which I said, yeah, absolutely. That'd be great. Let's do it. So I did a quick little conversation with some of the higher ups at BetQL. On Friday, I got a phone call from the VP, the senior executive producer and VP of BetQL, a guy by the name of Jesse Lynn Harris. Jesse said, Rob Brown, how would you feel about doing a show on BetQL, on the BetQL network and the Odyssey app and the Odyssey network? And I said, I'd be very interested. What do you have in mind? So, starting on Saturday, April 9th, from 1 p.m. until 5 p.m. every Saturday throughout baseball season, Rob Brown, along with former Major League Baseball pitcher Cody Decker, will be sitting down hosting a show on the BetQL network. Cody hosts the show on The Score in Chicago, an Odyssey station, the sports talker in Chicago, Illinois. He hosts the morning show there. Rob Brown, of course, the host of the mid-morning show here on the Fan Upstate, will be teaming up on Saturdays from 1 to 5 to host a nationally syndicated show on the BetQL network doing some baseball gambling discussion every Saturday from 1 to 5. You'll be able to hear it on the Odyssey app. You'll be able to hear it on some fine Odyssey stations. And when this show is over, I'm going to be marching my happy butt on down to talk to the boss and go, hey, man, I'm just saying you might want to pick up the BetQL network from 1 to 5 on Saturdays this offseason. That's all I'm saying. No particular reason.
Wow.
With, can you provide some content, maybe call in, do some interviews with some spots here and there, and effectively work as a part-time fill-in guy? Can you just fill in for us here and there when our regular hosts are going to be out? And that's honestly, that's all I expected. That's all I expected was to be on the rotation, to get called in and do some fill-in spots here and there. But they called me on Friday and they said, we'd like you to host the show. So starting next Saturday, I think is it next Saturday or the Saturday? It's Saturday after that. Not this upcoming Saturday, but the Saturday after that. April 9th from 1 to 5 Eastern, you're going to be able to hear Rob Brown and former Major League Baseball player Cody Decker hosting a show on the BetQL app, the Odyssey app, the BetQL and Odyssey podcast networks, and on stations live around the country. I'm pretty pumped about that.
So you just went national.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
So your boy goes national starting April 9th. I'm pretty excited about it. It's not going to change anything about this show. It's not going to change anything about my regular schedule. It's not going to change anything about how I act in the community, except for I need all of you guys collectively across the Upstate not to plan anything cool on Saturdays between 1 to 5 p.m. until the end of baseball season.
Hey, Rob, welcome to work.
Pretty much. Which I don't mind, right? Because here's the thing, and I said this, I was talking about this with a friend of mine. You know, I got the offer on Friday. I accepted it yesterday morning. I said, yeah, absolutely, I'm going to do that. Does Rob want to be on the radio more? Yes, he does. I asked him. He said yes. So yesterday, I was over in Charleston on vacation. Still worked because, you know, I like my job. So I did the show from Chucktown yesterday. And on the drive back after I accepted the job, I was having some conversations with some friends. And we got to talking about it. And they said, dude, you do realize that you now work 6 days a week. And I said, yeah, I do realize that. You do realize that my job is to sit in the man cave with 3 TVs going, watch baseball, and talk about it. I've had worse jobs that required 6 days a week out of me. You know what I mean? So anyway, pretty pumped about that. Your boy goes national starting April 9th on the BetQL network, the Odyssey app, and on fine stations across the country. Pretty pumped, I'm pretty jazzed, as the kids say. You know? So me and Cody Decker, if you are a baseball gambler, if you participate in the exchanging of coin over athletic sporting competition that involves hardwood and balls, then we got you set up, ladies and gentlemen. We start Saturday, April 9th. We're going from 1 to 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. And then, Lonzo, at the end of the year, if they are happy with it, there is the chance this could segue into a regular nationally syndicated show moving forward. It's a possibility. It's a question mark, but a possibility.
So you're going.
I don't plan on going anywhere from here. It just means you're going to get more of me on your radio speakers. You're welcome.
Well,
talking to Jesse, I said, hey, look, I got some questions, including question number 1, how do this work? And he said, do you have an internet connection to the house? I said, yeah. He goes, can you sit next to it? I said, yeah. He goes, cool, you can do it from the house. Well, the internet connection at the new and improved Casa de Love is in the man cave, right next to the desk where I record everything else that I do from the house. So I don't even have to move. On my left, Lonzo, is a 60-inch big screen. Hanging on the wall in front of me are 2 27 inches hooked up to the television box. I got 3 TVs plus 2 computers going to the man cave to watch all the games. And yes, Major League Baseball starts on the 7th. Saturday, April 9th is the first day of full games. And your boy will be going live. Not only can you hear it on the BetQL landscape, not only can you hear it live on the Odyssey app from 1 to 5 on Saturday starting April 9th, but on top of all of that, you'll be able to watch the show live on Twitch. Me and Cody will go live on Twitch every Saturday 1 to 5. And if you don't think I'm going to find a way to put that on the Fan Upstate page, you don't know me. I'm putting in the work, son. Ladies and gentlemen, Greenville, South Carolina is going national, and I can't wait. Again, that is Saturday, April 9th, 1 to 5, and every Saturday after that for the remainder of baseball season. Rob Brown and former MLB player Cody Decker are taking you for 4 hours around the bases of Major League Baseball in the sports gambling world. Looking forward to that. Ben says, Rob Brown leading into the Upstate Pulse. That's a great Saturday on the radio. What else can you ask for, kids? You get a little sports gambling in the day. You get a little nerd roundtable at night. You're welcome. I'm just here to make the Upstate better than it already is. My name is Rob Brown. He's the great Alonzo. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate.
let me
stop doing this, and fans need to stop reacting to this.
Jim Rome in the jungle at noon.
Upstate.
CBS Sports Radio.
Whether it's a bad kick, nagging back pain, or a hip that has you hobbling, nothing matters more than getting you back to feeling your best. As South Carolina's most preferred orthopedic provider and official team doctors for the Gamecocks and Tigers, Prisma Health provides all the care you need. With more expertise, more technology, and more locations closer to you, we're doing even more to help you be your healthiest you. Prisma Health, the orthopedic experts.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if the prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required. Refund available for 60 days after purchase.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/free. You'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the biggest brands at 90% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but 90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. Results are guaranteed or your money back. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/free. That's 4hims.com/free for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/FREE.
97.7 FM Greenville. 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
And on the Louisiana.
Upstate.
Anywhere fans go to cheer on their team, there are behind-the-scenes MVPs, ensuring everything is game day ready. We see you, Joe, fixing seats so every fan can enjoy every game. And Allie, who keeps her stadium running smoothly from the moment the first game starts to the last play of the season. At Granger, you're our MVPs, and we're always here for you, with supplies and solutions for every industry and 24/7 customer support. Call clickgranger.com or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Whether you're in business or in school, Staples has your tech.
How about wireless headphones so I'm not tied to my desk?
Staples has your tech.
A tablet for when I travel by train? The latest laptop for a soon-to-be summa cum laude?
Staples offers tech solutions and accessories for learners, small business, and remote workers too. From the latest laptops to networking solutions. And now, Apple AirPods Pro are just $199. You save $50. The latest tech solutions are at Staples, the working and learning store. Ends 4/2. Limit 2 while supplies last.
The Rob Brown Show, now 9 to noon.
He said, and the most wrong thing anybody has said on Twitter in quite some time, crispy bacon is bacon in its best form. Wrong. Hashtag Team Floppy Bacon forever.
What?
There have been nights, Lonzo, where yours truly has gone, I'm hungry, but I don't want to really work. I'm just going to cook up an entire pound of bacon and that's dinner. If you're just making a plate full of bacon, floppy bacon is the way to go.
I prefer bacon as it was intended to be made, fully cooked. This is one of those conversations I'm glad we never had in the office. I'm glad this is taking place on the air.
So that you can display to the world how wrong you are about bacon. I respect that. Yeah, and I'm looking through the responses, and I'd say it's about 50-50. I prefer the old-fashioned way. Put it in a frying pan, let it fry in its own greasy goodness. That's where the glory of bacon shall forever be sung. When you're cooking bacon, is effectively angels singing the praises of the best food.
Same great show, new time. Now 9 to noon, only on The Fan, Upstate. Upstate. WORD Spartanburg.
Come on. Yay.
Odyssey Station.
Man, check this out.
Your unofficial Rob Brown Lockdown.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas. This is the Rob Brown Show. Rob, only on
The Fan, Upstate.
Hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, my friends. It is great to be with you again. I am Rob Brown, the ever-present alpha and omega of the Fan Upstate. Lonzo on the other side of the glass, in charge of all the buttons and switches that make us sound as good as we do and make us sound as good as we are, ladies and gentlemen. The show awarded the South Carolina Broadcasters Association Sports Talk Radio Show of the Year is the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. Glad to have you along for the ride. Appreciate you joining us. The phone line is open for you at 844-FAN-PHONE, F-O-N-E, 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663. The Preferred Home Services text line is open as well at 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, so we can read them on the air. You got to put the keyword out front of F-A-N so that they filter through to our little text database, and we can read them on the air. The Preferred Home Services text line, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N. We want to hear what you got to say today, ladies and gentlemen. I found this audio. I'm going to go to clip number 1, if you don't mind, Lonzo. I found this audio from a spring training game the other day. Buck Showalter is an MLB legend, right? He is an MLB legend. And he's also a guy from my neck of the woods back down in Florida, back in the Florida Panhandle. He comes from, if I recall correctly, a little town called Pace, just outside of Pensacola. Don Sutton, the Hall of Fame pitcher for the Atlanta Braves, is from the same region. Anyway, a number of years ago, Buck Showalter made a cameo on Seinfeld, widely regarded as or at least one of the greatest sitcoms to ever air. And if you're like me, you're a big Seinfeld fan. I love Seinfeld. One of my favorite shows of all time. Buck Showalter, when he was working for the New York Yankees, made an appearance on Seinfeld. Well, during a spring training game the other day, he was in a conversation where he was talking about him and Keith Hernandez, who also, during his time with the Yankees, showed up on Seinfeld, as was known to do. Seinfeld had a lot of scenes that involved the New York Yankees, including George Costanza working for the Yankees for a period of time, showing the Yankees greats how to hit home runs using geometry. It was an incredible scene. Anyway, Keith was in the broadcast booth as Buck Showalter's Baltimore Orioles were on the field for a spring training game, and he got asked about his appearance on Seinfeld, and it led to what is quickly turned into one of my favorite pieces of baseball audio of all time.
Real quick, who had the better Seinfeld cameo, you or Keith?
That's right. Keith had one. He probably had more than me. I don't know about him. I'm still getting taxed on that stuff. I think it cost, my wife said about $19. So hey, I saw you. I go, that's not good. Which one was Keith? I notice I didn't do a second appearance because when Mr. Steinbrenner found out they were making fun of him, he embraced it later, remember?
That's right. All right, on that note, we will let you get back to managing Buck. Thanks so much. Keith, do you still get taxed on that?
I certainly do. Steve, I can't believe you didn't ask him about the cotton uniforms.
They wanted me to ask you about the cotton uniforms.
I tell you what, if we don't get off a good start, you'll see cotton in New York.
There you go, from the horse's mouth.
Oh, from one TV star back up to Keith.
Buck Showalter said, every time my episode of Seinfeld airs, I get taxed about $19 and make $0 off of it. I don't know why that kills me as much as it does.
I don't understand.
I don't know is the answer. I don't know. My guess is because networks have to pay money to whatever studio has the syndication rights to Seinfeld, right? Which ain't cheap. Like Seinfeld and Friends, the show Friends, not Jerry and his friends. Seinfeld, the show, and Friends, the show. The syndication rights of those two shows is astronomical. Who is it that has Friends now? I think Netflix has Friends now. And the syndication rights to it?
It's all.
During our year-and-a-half hiatus, courtesy of COVID, When I was broadcasting from the house, sitting at the old and decrepit Casa de Love, as opposed to the new and improved Casa de Love, and I'd flip channels during breaks, Friends was on like every day. So I know the syndication rights to those shows is astronomical, and I assume that the studio, in receiving money, has to pay tax on the money of the syndication bill and then spread the cost around everybody who had a credit, right? I would assume. I could be incorrect. I am like 3 times a day. But because... And trust me, when I get something wrong, people are in no mood not to immediately let me know. So I can keep track, pretty evidently.
Thank you, text line.
Yeah. The preferred home services text line / make sure Rob knows he's wrong text line is open at 71307. Start your text with FAN. Anyway, Buck Showalter and Keith Hernandez get into a debate about who had the better Seinfeld appearance, and it immediately gets train wrecked when Buck says, I still get charged $19 a pop every time my episode airs. So I don't know why I find that as funny as I do.
See, I'm not
I mean, Buck's probably doing okay. Buck Showalter has said, uh-oh, I had $21 in my bank account, but Seinfeld just ran my episode, so I'm McDonald's today. I get hit with a $19 tax bill every time me and Jerry make it to TV. Love that. All right. A few more stories I want to get to here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. South Carolina's basketball program has a new head coach. We talked a little bit about Eric Musselman yesterday, the head coach at Arkansas, and the fact that whether you like it or not, and I've come to the conclusion that most of the fans in the Upstate do not, but whether you like it or not, we are at a point in college athletics where players don't play for the name on the front of the uniform anymore, right? They don't play for the school. That ideology died years ago when recruiting became something that we focus on nationally, right? We focus on national recruiting. I looked up the other day because I was curious at a JUCO level, right? I'm not even talking about D1. I'm talking about a JUCO level. I looked up the roster for Northwest Florida State College, the Raiders. That's a basketball program that I used to call play-by-play and color commentary for. Basketball, and they just won again the junior college national championship game. And this school's interesting because this school has been a pipeline for Division I players to go play there for 2 years and then move on and go play basketball at big schools. Chris Duarte is the starting guard/forward for the Indiana Pacers. Chris Duarte played 2 years of college ball at Northwest Florida State College. Then he moved on to the Oregon Ducks, where he made a run, and then got drafted to the NBA, right? It's a junior college. So I went and looked up the roster of Northwest Florida State College, the Raiders basketball program, your 2021-22 junior college national champions. Because I wanted to see where their players came from. Again, this is junior college. Here's the roster of the junior college Northwest Florida State College Raiders. Michael Jefferson from Sulphur Springs, Texas. Shema Scott from Cleveland, Ohio. Cam Woods of Bessemer, Alabama. Brennan Rigsby of DeBeck, Colorado. Jalen McDaniel, Kansas City, Missouri. Betmer Mutombo from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Trey Clark of Covington, Georgia. Issa Muhammad from Atlanta, Georgia. Falou Diagne from Senegal, Africa. Jasper Floyd from Tampa, Florida. Adam Sherbakov from Migdal HaEmek, Israel. Patrick Ariel from Columbia, South Carolina. DeShondre Washington, Chicago, Illinois. Mason Nicholson, Gary, Indiana. Michael Dudley, Charlotte, North Carolina. And Shalva Ramashvili from the Democratic Republic of Georgia. Not Atlanta. That's the country one. It's a very long way from here. You need a boat or a plane to get there. That is the roster of a junior college basketball program, okay? Recruiting in every college sport. And I'm not just talking football and basketball. I'm talking baseball. I'm talking track and field. I'm talking swimming and diving. I'm talking equestrian. That's the horses. Recruiting at every college sport is no longer a regional game. It is no longer a national game. Recruiting for college sports is now an international affair. Which means that, do you think that Shalva Ramashvili from the Democratic Republic of Georgia grew up a big Northwest Florida State College, junior college Raiders basketball fan?
I'm guessing
Republic of Georgia, right? I doubt that Falou Diagne from Senegal in Africa was rocking his 2017 junior college national championship Northwest Florida State College Raiders basketball hoodie, right? It's an international game now. And players are no longer playing because they grew up loving the university, right? Like back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, heck, maybe the early 80s, you had kids that wanted to play for South Carolina because they were from South Carolina. And they wanted to rep their state and their U on the front of the jersey. Kids playing for Clemson back in the day were from Clemson and Greenville and Spartanburg, and they wanted to rep the Upstate by playing for the university closest to the Upstate. But it ain't that no more. And the opposite is true too, right? If Dabo's got an opportunity to recruit a two-star kid with a lot of heart out of Dorman High to play cornerback, or the five-star kid out of Los Angeles, California, who plays cornerback and goes, Clemson has a pipeline for DBs to the NFL. I think I'd like to play there. Who you think Dabo's suiting up next year? The five-star kid. It's not a regional game anymore. Texter says, fan, my college soccer team was from all over the world. I was one of 3 from the state. Yeah, that's it, right? Especially in soccer, the world's game. If you can bring a kid over from Spain who is a unique talent and suit them up at the University of Alabama, do you think a 2-star recruit out of Bessemer is going to pop over a kid from Madrid who's a damn good player and is an academy caliber player? No. Because as much as we want to pretend like coaches are all about the love of the school, you know what their favorite logo is? The logo that comes on the front of the paycheck, right? They might go out there and rep the hell out of your college's logo. But that's because your college logo is on the front of their paycheck. It's on the front of their paycheck. Yeah? It is now an international game. It's not regional anymore. It's not even statewide. It's not even national. It's an international game now. So when you got a new head coach in town, you are looking for a head coach that gets kids who want to play for them. Which is why I'm watching South Carolina's roster on the basketball floor. It's just fading. Guys are transferring out effectively en masse. So far, the Gamecocks have had 6 players. Remember, college basketball teams carry about 14 guys. 6 players have transferred off of the roster at South Carolina. Yesterday, guard Devin Carter posted on social media that, quote, due to the recent changes in coaching at the university, I have decided it is best to explore my options in the transfer portal. He joins guard Jermaine Cousinard, Eric Stevenson, the top 2 scorers from last year, forwards Wildens Levesque and Taquan Woodley. Reserve guard Mike Green have also decided to leave South Carolina. And I have looked at Gamecocks message boards as the transfers have rolled in. And Gamecocks fans are like, oh man, this is awful. This is bad. This is tragic. This is not great news. I got news for you. You ain't any different than any other basketball school that gets a new head coach. The players are not there to play for the University of South Carolina. The players are there to play for a head coach they believe in and a scholarship. That's what they're there to play for. You'll still find some kids that really want to play for a university, right? Like, I just grew up a lifelong fan of XYZU, and that's the jersey I want to sport no matter who the coach is. But they are going to be the minority, the exception, not the rule. So South Carolina's effectively entire starting rotation and some of the bench transferring out after Frank Martin left is not a surprise. Those kids were there to play for Frank Martin, not the University of South Carolina. And as Ric Flair said, you don't have to like it, you will learn to love it. Because that's the game now. So the win here for Lamont Paris, the new head coach at South Carolina, is not to go and keep the roster intact. The win is, how do I replace those guys with guys who want to play for me? I'm sure there are some kids that played under Mike Krzyzewski that wanted to play for Duke. But now that Coach K is leaving, Duke is not going to have windfall talent just flying across the country because they want to play for Duke. That's not a thing. There will be some kids, but it won't be like it was under Coach K. Watch. Don't panic, Gamecocks fans. Don't freak out about this. These kids were committed to Frank Martin, not the University of South Carolina. These kids were committed to Coach Frank, not the Gamecocks athletic department. Now that they're gone, you can bring in kids who are committed to the next regime. And as Eric Musselman at Arkansas is showing you, which, by the way, just picked up his 3rd 5-star recruit to Arkansas. Not North Carolina, not Duke, to Arkansas. You find a guy that kids want to play for, your basketball team profits. Welcome to college basketball in 2022. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate.
Unmute what you just there.
You're unmuted.
Thank you.
All right.
And it takes a second to recover because when you finish talking and Rob is talking, there's a second or two delay before you hear his voice again.
Have you checked the settings in Word to see if they're different than the settings in here?
Not strictly, but this is a new issue,
Ooh,
right?
oh.
This didn't happen yesterday or last. Well, you weren't here last week, but
It has happened. Bits have cut out. Not as bad as what's doing now.
because it doesn't seem like it's getting to this computer when
You
when
and
you're
Tony
talking.
were in here. I was at
Yeah.
home.
Something. I'm trying to follow it from both ends, from this end to this end, back like this, you know, to see
Mhm.
where the disconnect is.
You're the one everyone looks to for answers. Come rain or shine.
My guess is
Maybe it's the computer itself. Maybe it can't handle it.
I doubt it, because although I was planning on replacing these computers in here. Got them actually set up. The replacement computers for all the three of the ones in here, I've got them set up and ready to move in. I just need to find a time to do, or really schedule the time to do it. I just need to inform you guys this is going to happen. It's what I did in TPT. But it looks to me like, and I don't know what the audio quality sounds like, but it looks to me like if you're backed off the mic a little bit.
I've tried that.
I know, and that's going to go against your instinct. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I understand that. I'm trying to find a solution that plays to your strengths rather than ask you to do something that you're unaccustomed to.
I can move the mic up here, and I can turn my gain up. But in the end, the radio levels are the ones that matter the most. But if we're starting to
Yes.
lose people, that's a problem.
Well, obviously.
Since we've been.
But the issue doesn't appear to be on the computer end, which means the next thing back is the node that feeds the computer. And
Or the computer itself. That's what I'm saying.
well,
You're the expert. Whatever you say.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 90% cheaper, and you can
I mean, I could replace the computer.
The thing is, and I talked to Tony about this yesterday. When I'm on mic 1 in there, it does the same thing. When I'm on mic 2, it does not. The processors were set up when
that's
ESPN
what I
came
was
over here.
wondering.
We had problems with the processors. I was asked what I suggested, and I suggested that they be set up the same way they are in Word. So unless someone's changed it,
Rolling on. That's one. Rolling on. With the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate.
I would say.
And yesterday, I was on a mic that cannot turn off. So, for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, because we are in a brand new time slot, 9 to noon, right here on the Fan Upstate. Lonzo and I have been working together for the better part of a year and a month now. Year and 2 months now, actually, I think. Some ballpark, somewhere in there. Year and 2, year and 3. I don't know. Time flies when you're having fun.
Something.
Yeah. Love it. We're just racking up crystal trophies like they're nothing. All right? Lonzo and I, for the time we've been together, keep track of how many times each one of us starts to talk without turning on the microphone. It's our own little competition, and it's a really dumb one, but also Lonzo and I are like uber competitive about the dumbest things. If you watch the Facebook stream at facebook.com/thefanupstate, twitter.com/thefanupstate, or on the Rob Brown Show YouTube channel, during breaks, you will see Lonzo and I walk to the other side of the room and start slinging garbage across the room. That's because there is a trash can that our cleaning crew leaves in a different location every day.
And we don't touch it.
We don't touch it.
I mean, you can't move the hoop.
No.
That's how that works.
Every day the cleaning crew puts the trash can in a different location, and sometimes there's a table over here that's kind of like our station paper trail, you know? Like if there's any important paperwork everybody at the station on air needs to see, it goes on this table.
I think so.
Now it's ours. So when they put the trash can out, obviously we walk over there and Lonzo and I are just calling Kobe from across the room. But every now and then they'll stick the trash can under that table. And since we can't move it, then it becomes a contest in who can get something in the trash can before the other. Uber competitive. So anyway, if you ever hear Lonzo or I open a segment by just shouting a number into the mic, that is the number of times this week that we have started talking without opening the microphone, and we see who makes more mistakes by the end of the week.
I just want to.
At the end of the week, we're like 3-2. Rob wins this week. There's no prize involved other than pride, the ultimate prize.
And it also should.
The number of times that has happened has dramatically dropped since it became a competition that has no prize, but definitely has a loser every week.
Well,
losing on a weekly basis. The only thing that is going to drive me to dividum is if I lose like 3 or 4 weeks in a row, and then I'm like, Lonzo, you're in charge of my mic now. All right.
But
however many mistakes Lonzo makes, he will make that many for me as well. All right. So I want to talk about the Carolina Panthers for just a second. I'm going to talk off the field because I'm curious as to the attitude. I'm curious as to the attitude that Panthers fans have about their team right now. Because I noticed something that happened yesterday. So the NFL owners have been doing owners' meetings. And of course, the owners' meetings bring a lot of media to wherever those meetings are taking place. And the owners traditionally are very much on board with putting their faces on television, right? I mean, you don't own an NFL organization without A, a boatload of money, and B, some amount of ego to be in front of cameras. And that's not a criticism or judgment. I have the same thing. You don't get in this business without a little bit of an ego. And I have noticed in watching the media come out. We have seen JJ on camera. We have seen Jimmy Haslam on camera. We've seen all the owners on camera, especially the ones that have a bunch of drama floating around their football team during the offseason. Except for David Tepper. Can anybody tell me the last time there was a David Tepper sighting? I have not seen that dude on camera at all. Not at the owners' meetings. Not around the last 2 weeks while free agency was hot and heavy. I've not seen nor heard hide nor hair of David Tepper.
I got to admit.
Weirdo in our
Who's
building.
that guy? He's dressed.
Is a. I mean, I'd know him if he walked in the door. I know what he looks like. But I can't tell you the first time that, and I'm not just talking about doing on-camera interviews about the football team. I'm talking about at all.
But is that a bad thing for?
I mean, a chunk, not all of them, right? In fact, I couldn't even tell you. Here's the fun thing. I couldn't tell you who the owner of the Green Bay Packers is. I mean, I know it's the publicly, but they have a president / CEO who is effectively the owner, right?
I think he's like duly elected or something now.
I can tell you who the owner of a handful of teams are. And I could identify a chunk of those.
Yeah, but can you?
Yes, some of them. There are some that are infamous. Jerry Jones is infamous. Dan Snyder is infamous, right? Good, bad, or ugly, they're infamous. And then there's a bunch more that I could identify because they like putting themselves in front of cameras, right? Mark Davis in Las Vegas. You know the guys that they stand out on camera.
Sorry, you say Mark Davis, and you just automatically
pay somebody to cut your hair. I am begging you. Stop doing it in the back of your 1996 Ford Astro.
It's not.
So I guess the point that I would make here, though, is regardless if I could identify 32 NFL owners from a lineup, right? I got to imagine if I did Man on the Street in downtown Spartanburg and held up a picture of Gail Benson, one of like 3 female owners in the National Football League. The majority of you guys could not tell me who she was, right? I could put a picture up of Gail Benson in a New Orleans Saints shirt, and most of you would not identify her as the current owner of the New Orleans Saints. But if I went to downtown New Orleans, Louisiana, and held up a picture of Gail Benson, most of the people there are going to know who she is, right? You may not know that Steve Bisciotti is the owner of the Baltimore Ravens and could not identify him in a lineup. But if I went to downtown Baltimore and I wasn't shot first and I held up a picture of old Steve, most guys and gals in Baltimore would go, yeah, that's our owner. That's the guy that runs the ship, right? I'm not saying that we need to see David Tepper every day, but here in what is supposed to be the Carolina Panthers market, you would expect to see him more, even if it's just on the local news. The Panthers went through and tried to get Deshaun Watson. They failed. The Panthers have maybe the most volatile head coaching position in the National Football League with Matt Rule. You know when the last time in my job, and I couldn't, I may miss stuff. I miss stuff all the time. I'm not going to argue that. You know the last time I can remember reading or hearing or seeing something from David Tepper? It was when he put out the statement that said the Panthers were pushing pause on their new HQ in Rock Hill, South Carolina, because the city missed a payment to the Panthers. That's part of the funding for that HQ. The Panthers were in the process of building the newest, largest, and most state-of-the-art NFL HQ. And then they stopped because Rock Hill didn't pay up part of what they agreed to pay up to. That was, about a month and a half ago. That's the last I've heard from David Tepper. In fact, the biggest off-the-air news that I have, off-the-field news that I have seen in the past 2 weeks out of Carolina, with the exception of, and I'm saying off the field because we saw Tepper and Fitterer and Rule and the OC and OL and QB coaches of the Panthers. We saw them show up at quarterback pro days last week, right? Kenny Pickett's, Malik Willis's. I think they sent one to Desmond Ritter's, who's a second-round guy probably. Matt Corrals. We saw those names pop up at pro days, but that's really it. The only news that I have seen away from the field in the past probably 2 weeks regarding the Carolina Panthers is that at the owners' meetings, where the head coaches are, by the way, at the owners' meetings, there was an after-hours party, right? There was an after-hours party. And the news coming out of that party was that Matt Rule apparently was owning the dance floor, ladies and gentlemen. Matt Rule was cutting a rug, I believe is what the kids say in their cool hip lingo. I'm not trying to be a square here, Lonzo.
Maybe back in the 20s.
Rug. According to Joe Bucks fan on Twitter and a couple of other sources, Joe Bucks fan, 30,000 followers on Twitter, and has been covering the Bucks for about 14 years now, said that at the owners' meeting, the story going around was that Matt Rule was dropping it like it's hot on the dance floor after the official meetings one day. Matt Rule was the center of attention at the dance party.
You have
I thought you were going to say that one coworker who takes over the party, and then I was going to say, that's me. But then you opened it with that you didn't expect, and everybody expects that. Bringing the noise on the dance floor. Keegan sent me that tweet last night on Twitter and said, if you don't ask Rashad about this, I'm going to be upset. Like, that's not going to be question number one. How does it feel to have a questionable head coach, but know that he can boogie?
So
here's the question I have sincerely. Knowing that your team is in a minor rebuild, right? It's not burn it to the ground and build it back up. It's a minor rebuild, an important one, but a minor one. Do you as a fan wish that you had more coming from your ownership and head coach? Do you wish you had more flow of information? That stuff was more readily accessible. That there was more being discussed and talked about by the ownership, by the leadership? Or are you good with everything's in the quiet, with the exception of the fact that my head coach is putting the screws to the other coaches on the dance floor at the owners' meetings? Because I'm 50-50 on it.
See, that's the same.
Lonzo and I take this job very seriously, right? Like, we have fun doing it. It's a fun job, but it's one that Zoe and I take very seriously. That being said, here at Odyssey, we are winners, and winners have parties. And when Odyssey throws us a party because we're winning, your boy loves to be at the center of it, except when we're bowling, and then it's just a completely different game, because then you bring out the competitive side that won't go away. But when we're at two lanes, it's not. But when we have a party that's like, hey, coming out to bar XYZ, 2 cocktails and a live DJ provided by the company, Rob Brown's on the dance floor dropping a Matt Rule like I'm getting paid for it. Right? I don't mind Coach had fun at a dance party. I'm good with that. Right? I'm fine with that. The question is, do you want more news? Do you want more info? Do you want to know more about what the team is doing? Or are you good with the team keeping it in the dark for right now? Keeping quiet on their plans, on their moves, et cetera, et cetera. They made a bunch of good free agent moves, and it was not talked about by David Pepper or Matt Rule. It was all quiet. Are we good with that? That's my question for you. Text us your answer on the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N. We'll read them on the air. We're back after this on The Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate.
This is the same stuff from yesterday.
Basketball, UConn 91-87 winners over NC State in overtime. UConn heads to the Final Four. They'll play this Friday against Stanford. The Fan Upstate is your home for coverage of the men's and women's NCAA basketball tournaments. Download the Odyssey app and search the Fan Upstate and listen anywhere on your phone. I'm Chuck Sanders, and that's your sports flash on the Fan Upstate. From the Ingles Market Studio. 97.7 FM Greenville. 97.1 FM Spartanburg. And the Odyssey app. A tradition of mine is to pick up at least one new college polo each year, and I'm always trying to find something that nobody else has. If you're a Clemson or South Carolina fan, let me tell you, Smith & James has the nicest looking team gear you've seen. It's fresh and unique, and you don't have to worry about everyone else having your shirts. Better yet, people will be asking you where you got it. How do we know? Because we're wearing Smith & James, and they're asking us. Check out their collection today at smithandjames.com. Stop by their stores in downtown Greer and on Verde Boulevard in Greenville.
This feature sponsored by Dell. Dell's semi-annual sale for business has arrived. Enjoy specials on Dell docks, monitors, and servers, plus up to 45% off the latest Dell PCs and Windows 11 Pro, and get an easy start to your workday. Call 877-ASK-DELL to speak with a Dell Technologies advisor. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
Prescription products require an online physician consultation and are only available if the physician determines a prescription is appropriate. Subscription requirements. See website for full details and important safety information.
Dealing with ED is difficult enough, but the pressure of not satisfying your partner makes it even worse. ED can be tough on a relationship. But if you
Prisma in the last break.
contact a medical provider online and, if appropriate, get the prescription medication that treats ED at affordable prices. HIMS ED medication has the same active ingredient as
You hear me?
You had a endorsement, I believe you said QC?
Prisma.
Prisma. I'll admit when I don't hear you. I heard I had an endorsement. It just went in one ear, not the other, as to which one it was.
You're going to forget anyway, but I feel obligated to tell you ahead of time. And you are not unusual when it comes to that.
It's not unusual. Lonzo.
A lot of hosts do that.
Restaurant Week has Sanjay's tables jam-packed. He needs more servers to keep these new customers coming back. Let's get these tables turning as fast as possible, okay? Gonna need to hustle. Indeed can help him hire great people fast. Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get
I wish someone would listen to me and go look at the settings on the computer in there and see what they are and see. I made us do that myself.
So it seems like we might need to do that after the show.
We're trying to fix it though.
Ready to help you get out there. Nature Valley for every adventure.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is the Fan Upstate, 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg, all around the world on the Odyssey app, AUDACY. Alonzo over here getting his Matt Rule on. Gotta love to see that on the stream.
For a little back. I don't know if you saw that.
Old Adam West, the GOAT Batman. All right. So, Panthers fans, I asked you, we'll talk to Rashad Beer for those of you that are new to our show and new to our time slot. Every Thursday, we talk to Rashad Beer, the host of the Panther Nation podcast, my favorite Panther segment of the week. And we'll ask him the same questions I'm asking you right now. Do you wish there was more transparency with the Carolina Panthers? Because I'll be real, there does not seem to be. There's not a lot of transparency with this team right now. At least it doesn't feel like it to me. I mean, their free agent signings are noted because they're public. They have to be according to the National Football League. Every now and then you see an announcement on social media, but, you know, Matt Rule is largely kept himself. And by the way, I understand why, right? I understand why. Matt Rule last year, I almost felt bad for the guy. I almost felt bad for the guy when we had the clip of Matt Rule at a Charlotte Hornets game with his kids. And the Hornets / Panthers fans started chanting, "Fire Rule" at Matt Rule. I kind of felt bad for him, right? Like, I understand you're not happy with the direction of the team and not happy with the direction of the coach. But, like, leave the dude alone when he's with his kid. You know what I mean? There's a line. I felt like that crossed it. But if you're Matt Rule and your fan base is actively chanting, "We hope you lose your job" in front of your kids, I got no reason to talk to you, right? If I'm at a bar and somebody comes up to me in front of the lady friend and says, "Hey, Rob Brown, you suck at your job and I hope you get fired," my response is not going to be, "Hey, man, why don't you pull up a chair and let's talk for a while?" My response is going to be, "Get the hell out of my face, dude. Like, I don't care that you like me. That's fine. A lot of people don't like me. It's part of the territory. But don't come up and do this in front of me, in front of my girlfriend, in front of a date, right? That's messed up, and especially not my kid. Don't do this in front of my kid. It's inappropriate. So if you're Matt Rule, of course, you're not going to go out of your way to go out and talk about the Panthers to a Panther fan base that was actively chanting, "We hope you get your job taken away from you" in front of your kids. Of course not. Why would you? But the organization as a whole seems to be quiet right now. The organization as a whole seems to be quiet. The organization as a whole is not really communicating with Panthers fans about the direction the team's going. And I'm just curious as to if fans are okay with that, right? The more I've thought about it, the more it probably doesn't bother me if I'm just thinking about it less of a fan and more as a football guy, right? I thought about this from the perspective of the offseason of the Saints. Saints had a big offseason, way over the cap, had to get under, lots of adjustments, very little to do in free agency, though they did make a few moves. They may not be done yet. They were in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes, as were the Panthers. They had to find a new head coach in Dennis Allen to take over Sean Payton's job when Chris Evans, Captain America down the hall, fired him actively on my show. And I kind of put myself into the middle of that and went, all right, let me think about that. If this was the spot that my team was in, right? If this was the spot my team was in, as a fan, would I be cool not hearing a lot out of the team, not hearing a lot from the owner, not hearing a lot from the GM, not hearing a lot from the head coach? Because Dennis Allen's been in the news talking about how is a defensive guy going to shape the offense now that Sean Payton is gone? What's the quarterback situation look like before Jameis and after Jameis was re-signed? And the Saints have been putting out bites, right? So how would I feel if they weren't? And I got to think as a fan, right? It's kind of like being an investor in a business. If you were to invest in a business and that business went radio dark on you and was not telling you, here's what we're doing to get a return on the investment, you'd probably be a little bit upset about that, right? Hey, I have invested in you. I expect a return on investment, and therefore I want to know what you are doing to create that ROI. Because at the end of the day, the NFL views your fandom as a business investment, right? When I go online and I buy that new Saints hoodie and a new Saints hat, and me and the lady friends circle a calendar date in red and go, this is the Saints game we're going to fly down to this year, and buy tickets to that game and buy the Sody Pops and the Superdome nachos, that's all a business transaction. And if I'm going to invest myself in that, I want to know what that team is doing to make sure that my investment is being utilized to return some profit. To me, in this case, profit being wins, celebration, happiness of the success of a football team. And the Panthers aren't doing that. But at the same time, I don't think they can, because the Panthers have to be throwing up smoke screens going into the draft, because what they do on draft day on April 26th, what they do on draft day is a direct investment in the team itself, and you don't want other teams jumping up and jumping that investment on you. How do you feel about it as a fan? Take a break. Got a couple of texts I want to get through and more. When we return, I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. This is the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate.
Charisma.
I knew it. Guys still talking about Will Smith and Chris Rock, huh? Apparently, both of them have put out statements now. Will put out a statement that was like, I went above and beyond. I think Lonzo hit on correctly. It was a work, right? It was a fake.
Yeah.
And by the way, I think Diesel's with us on the it was a work shoot, or it was a work thing too.
He like
it's on it.
So,
launching an investigative review on it.
wow.
Like that's going to find anything out. And the only question would be if it was a work, right? If it was a work, if it was fake for the sake of getting clicks and views, which by the way, it worked. If it was a work, somebody had to organize it, right? And I don't suspect that Chris Rock and Will Smith were in the back like, hey, what if you come up and slap the taste out of my mouth?
See,
comedy to me, right? Like I would think, in fact, funny enough, earlier this morning, and I saw this quote this AM, earlier this morning on Twitter, Jerry the King Lawler put out a tweet, friend of the show, Jerry the King Lawler, put out a tweet that said, me and Andy Kaufman did that boat 35 years ago.
Thank you.
That boat 35 years ago to get attention. And it worked, right? Like, what brings more attention than a little gratuitous violence every now and then?
Yeah, but just like a hit song.
Being real, right? And as Lonzo pointed out, and I think the more I think about it, this is what sets it off. Look, Liber Rob the Woke Warrior shows up for a second and says, look, money brings privilege. The more money you have, the more you can get away with, right? Because nobody's going to be the dude that... I think people just have an adverse reaction to the word privilege sometimes. Like they hear it and they think it's a trigger word. But rich people have privilege. You can get away with more when you're rich. Because, look, the harshest thing you can do to somebody that lives paycheck to paycheck is what? Take away a chunk of their paycheck. But if money is of no concern to you and being fined is a drop in the bucket to you, then you don't care. I was talking with the guys in the band and I said, you know, what would be the reaction if during one of our shows, somebody in the audience got up, walked up on stage, and slapped the taste out of the mouth of our lead singer? And the consensus, Lonzo, would be the other four guys in the band would laugh hysterically, but then that guy would probably catch a Telecaster to the face, right?
Yeah,
right? We would all laugh. We would all laugh. But then that guy would be catching a drumstick to the back of the cranium.
And it's a
bad intent. if Lonzo and I are on remote, and somebody just walks up taking offense to something I said on the radio, if somebody walks up and slaps the taste out of the mouth of Rob Brown, Lonzo immediately goes from executive producer to executive bodyguard, right? That guy's getting single leg takedowned right in front of the stage.
See that?
Walking up the catwalk to the stage. In no part of Chris Rock's brain would it render. Like Lonzo and I know when we go in public and we're doing a show and we are saying some things about people's favorite sports programs that they may not take too kindly to.
Had a
years ago on a radio show, in a tape that I still have, that Nick Saban is not a great game day coach, right? He's a good game day. He's not a great game day coach. I've said what I've said for years. Nick Saban does not beat you the Saturday of the game you're playing. Nick Saban beats you in February. He beats you on National Signing Day. And then he beats you again in March and April in spring training when he drills his team down to perfection. That's when he beats you, not on game day, right? And I know that because back in, 2007, Nick Saban's first year at Alabama, he went up against Jimbo Fisher and the Seminoles of Florida State in Jacksonville, Florida. I covered that game live. And Jimbo schooled Nick Saban because he had a better team. It hasn't been that way for a number of years. And I had an Alabama fan show up at my radio station after I said Nick Saban, the hottest take this guy could handle was Nick Saban's not a great game day coach. He's a great pregame coach who beats you with execution. And I had a Bama fan show up at my station, come inside the station, rattling the doors, did not talk to the people downstairs, started rattling the doors to get to the upstairs studio where I was located, to the point that my old station owner and the sales team had to basically restrain this guy until the cops showed up and said, dude, you got to leave or we arrest you. It's your choice. And the guy finally left. And you better believe every day since then, when I leave the studio, when it's time for Rob Brown to leave the Upstate studios, you know what the first thing I do is? I walk back into the studio and I look at the window down at the parking lot. I park as close to the door as I can, A, because I'm lazy, and B, because if I got to leave this place and somebody's in the parking lot waiting for me, I want the fewest steps available between me and my car door. All right? It's not paranoia. It's happened. Chris Rock was not in a place where the thought, oh, Will Smith might be coming up here to smack the teeth out of my mouth would have ever crossed his mind because it's never happened like that before. So he had no reason to think that he would be the first. But that wasn't the issue for me. That makes me think it was fake. What made me think it was fake was the fact that Will Smith did it and then nobody else did anything else, right? No producers came out and tried to settle Will down. No producers came out and picked Will and walked him back into the audience. No security. You think Chris Rock doesn't have a security guard that goes about 6'9", 275 that watches his back at all points in time? No security guy came out and Ray Lewis Will Smith on the middle of the stage and laid him out, right? Nobody did that. Will Smith just went back to his chair and he sat back down. And then what'd he do? He watched the rest of the award show from his chair and then he accepted an award and he said, "Oh, the devil made me do it."
Well,
Chris Rock being a consummate professional, right? Chris Rock understood the show is bigger than Chris Rock and Will Smith, so I'm just going to pitch on to the next segment, and I'm fine with that. You're spot on. Because Chris Rock, who is not by definition a roast comedian, but certainly is capable of dropping bombs with people, could have hit Will with, man, that slap was as open as Will Smith's marriage, right? Like, he could have dropped any line on Will Smith that would have ended that confrontation with a scoreboard of Chris 1, Will 0.
But
again, not just in the moment of being a professional, but in a moment of shock, right? Like, even if you're a shock comedian, that's just adrenaline at that moment. I can tell you, and I've said this before on the show, I genuinely have no idea how I will react if I get punched in the face, because I've never been punched in the face. So I can't say I would definitely do this. Like, I love the tough guys on Twitter. Love the tough guys on Twitter that are like, well, if Will would have done that to me, I would have ... fill in the blank with violent act of repercussion there. I don't, some of you might have, but I've also seen some big dudes get socked in the jaw and just freeze, right? It's like any other situation where shock is involved. I have seen plenty of people who were fine conversationalists in real life get offered a microphone on the air and then freeze when the mic goes hot, right? I've seen it happen on stage with bands where somebody will come up and go, hey, I'm a singer. I want to get on stage. Can I sing the song? And then you start playing the song and they just freeze and forget the lyrics are. I've seen it happen in radio where a guy who was great in the production meeting and you go, cool, man, your spot is at 9:15. Be ready to talk blank football. And you crack on the mic and go, what's up, big dog? Tell me about the Panthers. And they go, Matt Rule's the head coach.
that hurts, Rob. I don't know why you're coming at me like that.
Yeah, it's my. And I'm talking about. The point is, shock is a big deal. I'm willing to let it go. But the fact that no one said or did anything. Now, I get it, because celebrities know, right? They got publicists every day drilling them on, if this happens to you, do this. If somebody says this, respond with this. If somebody does this... leaning into this wasn't real, right? This wasn't real. The fact that Will Smith was walking off the stage and could not hide a grin after popping Chris Rock keeps bringing me back to it was scripted. What really amazes me is how passionate people are getting about this on social media and on radio and TV stations worldwide. Like, I get that it's still a topic of conversation. It was shocking. Even if it was scripted, it was shocking. Sure, I agree with that. But it's like people are staking friendships on whether or not it was real or not. People are having adverse reactions to people that they know and like personally because they had the audacity to say, no, I disagree. I think it was fake, or I think it was real. I am amazed by how much we are amazed by this, and that's why we keep getting more Kardashian shows. You wonder, right? Like, A, whether they watched it or not. First off, I'll bet you this. That slap went out on the internet. In fact, I know when it happened because I'm in Charleston doom scrolling Twitter looking for sports news for Monday's show, right? We were staying with the better half's sister and brother-in-law. We had some other family and friends we met up with, but they were all there. And she, the sister, is a big American Idol fan, right? And she was initially all upset because she's like, oh, American Idol, I guess it got bumped for the Oscars. She's like, well, I guess we'll just watch the Oscars. And then she didn't. She went to bed. So I'm doom scrolling. I'm watching sports. And I'm doom scrolling Twitter. And then all of a sudden, my entire Twitter line becomes nothing but Will Smith just slapped Chris Rock. And immediately I'm like, well, I got to turn on the Oscars now, right? Like I have zero interest in the show, but I got to turn on the Oscars at this point because I got to see what the fallout is, what the repercussions of this are. Because initially, once reported, my brain immediately said, oh, it's a work, but like I got to find out, right? I got to see it. I got to see what happened. I suspect there was a bump to the last hour of the ratings. But my question is, do people tune into the Oscars next year to see if more craziness is going to happen?
I don't think so.
We'll see.
Yeah. We'll
see.
Hopefully we'll be able to talk about that together.
Aw. Speaking of ratings, remember all those times so many weeks ago, like 2 days ago, 3 days ago, 4 days ago, when I said I'm all in on the St. Peter's Peacocks, right? I'm a big Peacocks fan. By the way, you know what the athletic department budget for the St. Peter's Peacocks is annually? Like their entire athletic department budget is $250,000. That's it. $250,000 for the entire athletics department is their budget. You know what the athletic budget is for the Kentucky Wildcats, the team that they bumped in the first round as a 2 seed? Over $130 million. The Peacocks are operating on about a 0.06% budget of the Kentucky Wildcats and beat them in the first round. That's a definition of underdog, right? Definition. And I said, America claims to love an underdog, but I don't think they really do. Predominantly because the metrics, the numbers, the analytics, the ratings never come back to reflect that when it comes to what do we watch on TV. It's always the Blue Bloods that turn in numbers. It's Duke and Kansas and Villanova and Kentucky and Gonzaga. It's the Blue Bloods that have the TV ratings. Welp, America just told me to shut up. St. Peter's win over Purdue last Friday in the Sweet 16 was the highest Sweet 16 rated game since 2011. It averaged 10.18 million viewers on CBS, which edged out a 2014 matchup between Kentucky and Louisville. And remember, that's a red-blooded American rivalry right there. Kentucky and Louisville are not fans of each other. And this is the game that edged it out. Little St. Peter's. And look, I don't even think you can give it the blue blood boost that we did when they played Kentucky. Because Purdue is not really a blue blood basketball program, right? I don't think we consider them that. Kentucky, Duke, Gonzaga, Kansas, these are teams that move the needle nationally. I don't think Purdue moves the needle nationally like those other schools do. Now, the numbers do come with a bit of an asterisk because the ratings now, and this is really interesting to me, according to the Big Lead in the New York Post, the numbers this year include out-of-home viewing. That is to say, games that are being shown in bars are being included. Games that are shown in gatherings on streaming services are included in these numbers. So there's a bit of a bump there. But I don't know that if it's big. And on top of that, Kansas and Providence were on at the same time. St. Peter's had 10.18 million viewers on average on CBS. Kansas, a genuine blue blood, 2.65 million viewers. About 22%, 23% of the viewership. UCLA versus North Carolina, that's two blue bloods, right? Two blue blood programs, including one in the Final Four last year. UCLA v. Carolina, 8.82 million, about 15% fewer viewers than St. Peter's v. Purdue. The Peacock Sweet 16 win, the 6th highest rated basketball game over the past 2 seasons. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe America does love a dog. Let's take a break. Got a few more topics I want to hit on the way out the door. My name is Rob Brown. The great one Lonzo is at the helm, and you're listening to The Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. Don't make me Will Smith you. Love it.
Playmaking tacos.
I did not hear that, but I'm going to say yes.
Our lineup of playmaking tacos.
Now I want. It is Taco Tuesday.
It is.
Ooh. 2 for 2. I like it.
I'm looking for a whiskey that will blow my buddies away. This single barrel bourbon is a surefire hit.
So the MJF scarf gets here tomorrow morning. And I'm trying to decide, because here's the thing. MJF, like, I have a red sequin jacket now that I'm going to wear for the awards this year if we get invited back. But it's more Seth Rollins than MJF. I think I got to go with the green velvet blazer, the scarf, the green Rolex, and the diamond ring, right? Like, that's the way to go.
Agreed. If you're going... Tape.
My man said I've made $200 helping people beat bosses. That's amazing.
If I...
had any playing time in the last, 2 weeks. It's like even the nights I set aside to play, I get home and something has happened.
I am...
Can't even roll with Lonzo anymore.
Well, Cameron's like, I'm like level 94 or something like that. Cameron's like 140 or something like that. He's not that much fun either, though. We They can't seem to fix it. So I don't know what to do about this because this is affecting the show. I'm not this microphone.
Yeah. What did Chris say? Don't know.
I think a lot of times they don't want to look at things that are suggested. I don't know, but he was. And he did say like the gate is all the way open or something. I don't know. It's weird that it just started happening on itself. One way to fix that would be to switch this mic out with one of the other ones.
See if it's the actual mic. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is the Fan Upstate 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg. And on the Odyssey app, AUDACY. Listen, grab the Odyssey app, put it on your digital devices. First time I did it, I was like, wow, would you look at this? I am an idiot. Even I can figure this out, ladies and gentlemen. You grab the Odyssey app, and when you do, it's going to take you to a screen that has the list down. So you listen to that. See how easy it is? You just click on it. It immediately starts playing whatever you're tuned into. I'm going to yell here in a second. Listen. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. I'll be goodness. Look at that. Anyway, grab the Odyssey app. I should turn me off now. Grab the Odyssey. Why? Once you do, click on the search icon. Search the Fan Upstate. You're going to see that beautiful blue Fan Upstate logo. Click on it, heart it, and all of the podcasts are right there in front of you, ladies and gentlemen. And when you start listening to an episode, it's going to put it down to the pick up where you left off section too. So if you're listening to it, let's say you click play accidentally while you're like doing a radio show or something, and you immediately got to click pause and turn it off. When you do, and you go back to the Odyssey app, it's going to let you push play and pick up right where you were forced to leave off when you were inconvenienced by, your job. Grab the Odyssey app, search the Fan Upstate, heart it. You'll be able to follow this show, Offsides with Mark Ryan, and all of the other outstanding programming we have for you here on the station, anywhere with an internet or data connection and a speaker. They've got you hooked up. Get the Odyssey app, AUDACY, and don't miss a moment of it. Plus, want to remind you that starting on April 9th, your boy is going national. I got asked yesterday, Friday technically, accepted yesterday, and picked up a nationally syndicated show on Saturdays. Me and former Major League Baseball player Cody Decker are going to be hosting a baseball gambling show that airs from 1 to 5 Eastern every Saturday across the BetQL network, including right here in our market, ladies and gentlemen. You'll be able to hear all of our BetQL programming right here on the Big Stick. Very, very excited about that. BetQL is on WTPT HD3. You'll be able to listen to my show, me and Cody Decker, every Saturday, 1 to 5, as we talk sports gambling for you on the Baseball Focus. Really excited about that. Really, really excited about that. And looking forward to get a national show going right here out of Greenville, South Carolina. Cannot wait. Oh, and by the way, tune in on Thursday, because I had, in the place where business is done, both literally and metaphorically, I had a conversation earlier this morning. 9 from the Rise Guys on Thursdays, starting probably next week. At least 9. Likely Fat Boy and potentially Matt Man from the Rise Guys are going to join us once a week here on the Rob Brown Show, where the Rob Brown Show and the Rise guys do a wrestling segment. You know, they're big wrestling guys. You're shaking your head at it. This is big news, though. More wrestling is good for us.
Well,
biggest morning show in the Upstate. Actually, not just in the Upstate, because they're also syndicated in Chattanooga and New Orleans, Louisiana, on the Bayou 95.7, the Bayou down in New Orleans, Louisiana, the Bayou 95.7. The Rise guys, or at least parts of them, are going to join us on Thursdays to do a wrestling segment every Thursday. For those of you that are new to this time slot, ladies and gentlemen, we do talk wrestling here on the show because we are grown-ass men, and we want to. It's real simple. So we'll be joined with them probably starting next Thursday. We'll have the Rise guys coming in here for a segment a week to talk wrestling with us. Pretty excited about that. A lot of, can you guys stick around for a few more minutes? We've got to go to break. It's going to happen. But glad to have those guys coming to talk wrestling with me, Alonzo, here on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Looking forward to that. All right. A few more stories that I wanted to get to here on the radio broadcast. The Buffalo Bills are getting a new stadium. New York and Erie County announced a $1.4 billion public-private deal for the Bills, which would require an $850 million infusion from New York taxpayers. Now, Lonzo, I'm bad at math. That's why all my jobs involve words. $1.4 billion. 850 mil of which is going to come from taxpayers. That means, and again, I suck at math, but over half the cost of the stadium.
It would be more like 2/3, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well over half the cost of this new stadium is going to come from taxpayers. New York Governor Kathy Hochul? Hochul? H-O-C-H-U-L. Hochul? I'm going to go Hochul. Governor Kathy Hochul said she plans to advance a $600 million proposal for the 60,000-plus seat stadium in the state's budget deal, which is set to be finalized on Friday. The other $250 million will come from Erie County. Hochul said in a statement Monday, quote, I went into these negotiations trying to answer 3 questions. How long can we keep the Bills in Buffalo? How can we make sure this project benefits the hardworking men and women of Western New York? And how can we get the best deal for taxpayers, end quote.
How does it?
Game when it's 6 degrees and wind chill of -10.
Yeah, although I guess some people don't.
So, New York's negotiations secured a 30-year commitment for the Bills to remain in Buffalo. The National Football League on Monday approved a combined $550 million towards the stadium, which comprised of $350 million from the Bills owners, Terry and Kim Pagula, and a $200 million loan from the National Football League, which can be repaid over time through the visiting team's share of Bills ticket revenue over 25 years, based on the terms of the league's G4 loan program, which helps fund public-private stadium projects, according to the Buffalo News, end quote. And I knew this text was going to come in. Texter says, fan, that's a lesser percentage from taxpayers than you wanted from the Triumph Stadium. Correct. It is. And I also feel it's a different circumstance. Why? Because to me, and I feel like I've been consistent in this, if the taxpayers are going to be involved in a project, the taxpayers ought to have control over said project, right? The premise of the project should not be we build this stadium and then basically only the team can profit off of it, right? Because that is the setup. Taxpayers fund $850 million of a $1.4 billion stadium, and then only the Buffalo Bills. Texter says, I'm happy to be able to be counted on. Yes, you are, Texter. Yes, you are. Only the Bills can profit of it, right? Everything that runs through that stadium, the profits of it are going to go through the Buffalo Bills, to the Buffalo Bills. That's just how it works. The reason this is different from the stadium that the Triumph proposed to try to bring into Malden is that that project would be owned by the community, would be owned by the county. The Buffalo Bills are not going to get $850 million of taxpayer money and then go, oh, and Erie County owns the stadium. It's not going to work that way. The Bills are going to own the stadium. The Bills are going to get the dates that the Bills want, and everybody else gets locked out. Whereas the stadium proposed in Malden would be owned by Greenville County. It will be owned by Greenville County. The Triumph and the newly minted Greenville Liberty USLW League team would say, here are the dates that we have matches. Here are the scheduled dates and time of practice. Outside of that, that stadium is up for county use. When the proposal was made, it was made where concerts and festivals and civic events and county meetings and organizations could come in there and utilize the resources of that stadium involving the Triumph and the Liberty, right? Of which, by the way, the Triumph and Liberty would still pay an annual rent every single year. So they would get priority on dates, but they would also be paying for that ability back to Greenville County, right? Soon as this story popped up last night, I immediately was like, oh, this is going to spark conversation about the Greenville Triumph Stadium, the Greenville Liberty Stadium, the Irwin Group Stadium. And I knew it would. And that's fine. I'm not saying that in a bad way. It should. But the difference in these two stadiums, as far as I can tell, and I am not an attorney, nor did I stay in a Holiday Inn Express last night, but the difference is that the stadium proposed for the soccer teams here in the community would be a community-owned stadium. That is to say, if Rob Brown wanted to organize an outdoor music festival where all of the local bands would come and play a 1-hour set from sunup to sundown on a Saturday in the fall, Rob Brown could get with the county and get those permits and rent that stadium and pay the county for it and host that music festival. If Greenville County said, hey, you know what would do really good for the Upstate? What if we use this soccer field to put on a statewide high school soccer tournament where all the games are hosted here one after the next for 4 or 5 days in a row? They could do that and reap the benefits and the profit off of it. That's the difference. That's where I'm intrigued. That's why I was on board with the stadium. My thought was never going to be, let's build this stadium, give the keys to Doug and Joe Irwin, and be done with it. Wasn't my statement in the beginning, isn't now. The reason they won me over with this project is twofold. Number one, I believe we have a phenomenal sports culture in this area. And I believe we have an incredible soccer culture in this area. And I believe we should be on the cutting edge of a growing soccer community nationwide. Look at MLS audiences. They are trending up, both in person and ratings on TV. Look at that men's game, the U.S. men's national team game the other day against Panama down in Orlando. That stadium, my little brother was at that game. He was texting me pictures and videos from that match. He was there. He goes, this place is rocking. It is full to the brim. It is standing room only. The entire Orlando community around the stadium was a soccer stadium for a day. He said it was unbelievable. And we in Greenville, we in the Upstate, have an opportunity to be on the front edge of an ever-evolving soccer culture. And I think we'd make a mistake not to do that. But the big thing that won me over was that Rob Brown is a big believer in community. That's why you guys see me at Swamp Rabbits games, at Triumph games, at Drive games, at every downtown music and entertainment festival. You will find Rob Brown walking around. Come up and say hi. I love it. Even if you hate me, I love to shake hands and win people over. It won me over because the proposal was, yes, it is going to take taxpayer involvement to make this happen, but the goal is to have the taxpayer own this stadium and the Triumph rent it from them. The thing is, somebody has got to kickstart that. Somebody has got to be the folks that go, this is the project, let's pull the trigger and get it done so that we can continue to have a thriving sports economy, so we can continue to be on the cutting edge of the soccer culture as it develops in this country. Somebody's got to pull the trigger, and the Triumph did that. But they wanted to turn ownership over to the county. You guys own this now. You want to host concerts? Host concerts. You want to host events and festivals? Host festivals and events. Here you go. You're ready to dork out? I'm a big Renaissance Festival guy. Lonzo, what's the closest Renaissance Festival we have? Charlotte, I think?
There are.
Could you imagine what a killer Renaissance fair we could? I've heard stories.
I have that. That's awesome.
Lonzo's not that big of a dork. The point is, think of all of this stuff, right? Think about all of this. And all of this could be done and put the money, unlike in Buffalo, directly back into the coffers of the county. It pays for itself. Yeah, it's going to take some time. Investments do. But what about 15 years down the road when that thing is paid for? The Triumph still pay rent every year to host a championship caliber soccer team. I suspect that the Greenville Liberty are going to be W League contenders as well, based on the team they put together and the roster they put together. You have local growth. You have a place where local athletes can go, and the county makes the profit of it, not the Triumph. That's the difference, and that's why I am on board and support this idea. Is it done? I don't think so. But we'll see. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back here in a minute. Texture says, new time slot, same clap back. Didn't mean to derail the show, but I couldn't help it. The text line is open for a reason. Texter numero uno, and you know who you are. Let's take a break. My name is Rob Brown. Lonzo's at the controls. You're listening to the award-winning Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. So I have an idea, Lonzo.
Uh-huh.
Tayshawn in the stream just said, hey, I play Dungeons and Dragons. So Tayshawn, so do me and Lonzo. And show contributor Cameron / Pappy. And Chris Evans, Captain America down the hall. Lonzo, if I, the Rob Brown, was to DM a Rob Brown Show session of Dungeons and Dragons, would you be interested in playing it? Just a one shot to start.
Yeah.
Tayshawn, would you play if I did a Rob Brown Show one shot D&D? I know Keegan would. Zoe would. Chris Evans, Captain America down the hall would. If Tayshawn does, that's 4. And we open it up for one more listener who wants to play. That's a group of 5. I think I could put this together, Lonzo. And we could stream it on Twitch.
We could do that.
Tayshawn says he's in. I'm going to answer for Keegan and say Keegan will be in. Lonzo's in. Show contributor Cameron would be in.
Yeah, he's always down. Probably going to have a conversation with people who think that I can get this edited in time, which I'm not sure. ESPN was easy because they had long intros and outros, so you could spot it.
A tiefling bard. Those are two very opposite things. That's a very unique character. I like it.
You're going to pay attention now.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. Results are guaranteed or your money back. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/free. That's 4hims.com/free for your free online visit. FORHINS.com/FREE.
Gary Dunn here with Travis Benson, the owner of CNT Foundations. Travis, when it comes to repairs of my home, I want to know who's doing the work. Who is CNT Foundations?
Well, let me tell you who we are. We are not salespeople. We are a general contractor specializing in foundation repair. As the founder, I have a calling to help people regain their peace of mind by knowing their home is safe.
Call 864-533-41. CNT Foundations, your foundation experts.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who believe only quitters end the game in a tie. The type of guys who choose the bar with the biggest TVs and overcompensate for theirs at home. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
This feature sponsored by Jackson Hewitt. Discover thousands of dollars in new tax credits and your biggest refund guaranteed with
All right, so I can't find it, and I will send an email. They can tell me if I just don't know what I'm doing.
to learn more and find a location near you.
You're the one everyone looks to for answers. Come rain or shine, the job must get done, and you're the one who makes it happen. We get you, Jackie in Fresno, putting your employee safety first. And Manny in Chattanooga, whose local Granger team knows him by name. We're here for you and all the ones who get it done, with 24/7 customer support and access to product specialists to help you find what you need. Call clickgranger.com or just stop by.
That's a good question.
Existential producer Lonzo. Yes, I think the spoiler window is passed on the Batman. The Batman.
Get help managing your money for the life and years ahead with Fidelity Income Plan. What you'll need, and build a straightforward plan to generate income even when you're not working. A plan that gives you the chance to grow your savings and create cash flow that lasts.
So if they keep expanding the window of recording for this CBS report, if they put 20 minutes in there, that means 20 minutes that I have to try to look through to
Yeah.
find it, and I can't find it. I mean, it's not like I'm not trying.
Right.
Yeah, Mark, I'm the one that told you about it.
All right, here we go towards the back end of the Rob Brown Show in our new and improved time slot. 9 to noon right here on the Fan Upstate, 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg, and all around the world on the Odyssey app, AUDAC wide. Put it on all your digital devices and don't miss a minute of broadcasting in case you did not hear. Starting next Saturday, April 9th, your boys going national as I have been picked up by the BetQL network, which you can listen on TPT3 HD right here in the Ville. Saturdays starting on the 9th of April from 1 to 5 p.m. Eastern. Myself and former MLB player Cody Decker are going to go live and give you the baseball gambling show you never knew you wanted, but now you know you needed. Ladies and gentlemen, that starts next Saturday, April 9th, right here on the BetQL and Odyssey podcasting networks. Very much looking forward to that. We are taking Greenville national, y'all, as Greenville is going to be the site of BetQL's newest nationally syndicated show. Very, very excited about that and about the opportunity to talk a little gambling with you on Saturdays. Coming up on tomorrow's show, we are going to do our NBA power rankings as we head to the very end of the NBA season. Let's do this!
Show presents Twitter Trending Topics.
Lonzo just gets to interrupt me for segments, and he loves it. Tag before 50, and you were like 18 seconds late.
Yeah.
Nothing. The film star, best known for portraying the Flash in Justice League films, was arrested just after midnight Monday at a bar in Hawaii after allegedly flipping out over patrons singing karaoke. The 29-year-old was charged with disorderly conduct and harassment in connection with a late-night disturbance at a South Hilo bar. Police determined that, quote, during the course of the investigation that the man, later identified as Ezra Miller, became agitated with patrons at the bar singing karaoke. Miller began yelling obscenities and at one point grabbed the microphone from a 23-year-old woman singing karaoke and later lunged at a 32-year-old man playing darts. The bar owner asked Miller to calm down several times to no avail, end quote.
So
them.
Okay.
I'm a weirdo. Karaoke bar sings it because they can't sing, so they do the Scott Stapp 1990s vocal fry. I'm a weirdo.
See.
I don't belong to y'all. Stop it.
You're right.
Go to a place where singers sing. Don't come into the bar and ruin my good time with your crappy 2003 Jars of Clay impersonation. Please and thank you. That's it for us, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to go to my room of solitude and calm down. That's the show. It's all over. Gonna go do some work. We're back tomorrow. We're back tomorrow on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Later, brother.